Yo guys, it's Griff here back with another video, and today we are doing worst to best Premier League managers based on last season. So I'm going to start in 20th, Ruben Selles for Southampton. I just don't think he had the luck that Southampton needed to stay up. I felt it wasn't easy for him to do it because he wasn't the worst manager. I just felt like he didn't have much chance or opportunity to be able to actually stay there for long enough and have the funds to be able to buy the players he wants to be able to change the team around. So maybe that's why he didn't have the luck that he needed to be able to be a decent manager. So that's unfortunate for him. Next up is Brendan Rodgers. I know again he did not have the funds that he wanted, but the team was okay. I'm not saying it's the best team, but it certainly isn't a championship team. And for that, I'm sorry. 19th for him, honestly. I'm really disappointed as a Leicester fan. I felt like we could have stayed up easily, and I just felt like we didn't because of some stuff like that. Honestly, I think he could have done better. I think, Brendan Rodgers, especially with the team he had, and he did have a few quality players, so I think Brendan Rodgers could have done better for Leicester, to be honest. Next up is Sam Allardyce for Leeds. I thought Sam Allardyce was actually doing okay as the manager. I just felt, again, he was a bit unlucky, but I don't think that's really his fault, if I'm going to be honest. These managers didn't really have the chance because Sam Allardyce came in quite late, that he didn't really have the opportunity. Same opportunity as other managers like Jesse Marsch had for Leeds. So that's why, again, I feel like they struggled in this department. So that's maybe why I don't rate him as highly as some of the other managers on here. Next up is Gary O'Neill of Bournemouth. This is a strange one. Gary O'Neill getting sacked from Bournemouth even after keeping him up. I think he did all right, actually. I've put him quite low, actually. I probably could have easily put him in 14th. I just don't know. Because he sacked, so I felt like he was maybe not the greatest manager then if they're going to sack him, but maybe I was wrong about that. He did well to keep Bournemouth up, if I'm going to be honest. He did well, to be fair on him. Next up in 16th place is David Moyes of West Ham. I think he's up there with some of the worst managers this year because he had the funds, he had a great side for him, to be honest, and underperformed, to be honest. West Ham, yeah, they won the Conference League, but otherwise than that, they had a really poor season. Honestly, they were so poor. To say, the team, the calibre of the players they had, like Declan Rice, Ben Rama, Pablo Fornals, honestly, they had some quality players, and they didn't perform. I'll be honest, that was quite a poor season for them, and especially David Moyes as manager, as he could have been sacked at many occasions. Next up is Sean Dyche. I felt like Sean Dyche did it okay, but I just don't feel like he did as well as he could have done. But obviously they'll keep him for this season. Maybe he'll perform this season. Maybe this is his year to turn it around. But last season, he didn't do too well. But, he can change that. I reckon he can do better for them. Next up is Graham Potter. Honestly, what a poor manager this season. He started off with Brighton and he did amazing. And then moving to Chelsea, he had the funds, he had the players. It just all went wrong. I don't know why, but everything went wrong for Graham Potter. I honestly felt like that was the scenario, honestly. Nothing was going right for him, and that's why I think they failed miserably this season, if I'm going to be honest, for Chelsea standards. Next up is Antonio Conte of Tottenham. Yes, he was there for most of the season, so that's why he's on this list. Again, he did quite poorly to say the team he had, because the Tottenham team looked better than most other Tottenham teams that they've had over the years. But I just don't feel like the players actually helped him in this situation, to be honest, as some of the players were quite poor, if I'll be honest. And that's why I think that he wasn't maybe doing as well as he could be doing. Next up is Steve Cooper of Nottingham Forest. He did well, to be fair. He really did do well to keep Forest up, especially the doubters were saying at start seeing they're going down, and Steve Cooper kept them up, and I think not comfortably, but he was a great manager. I think his tactics helped them on quite a few occasions, and I think he did really well there. And I think the Nottingham Forest fans really appreciate Steve Cooper as a manager. And if I was a Forest fan, I would too. What a manager! Well done, Steve Cooper. Next up in 11th is Julian Lopetegui of Wolves. I think he actually did really well, to be honest, because especially when Wolves were really in the bad moment where they were near the bottom, and they lifted it up, and they actually, by bringing Lopetegui in, I think he's a brilliant manager, honestly, and I think the Wolves are lucky to have a manager like him, because honestly, without him, it could have been really different, and I wouldn't have been surprised if it was different. So for him and Wolves, they're very lucky to have him 11th place. Next up in 10th place, is Roy Hodgson of Crystal Palace. Wow. Roy Hodgson did change it around. Patrick Vieira started well, and then everything went wrong. I don't know why, it just all went wrong. I rated Roy Hodgson as manager, I always have. I thought maybe this is not the right appointment to bring in Roy Hodgson, but then it was the right appointment. Obviously, keeping Crystal Palace up, even though most people thought they were down once Patrick Vieira had left, they were like, who are they going to get in? But then Roy Hodgson did brilliant for Crystal Palace. Next is Marco Silva, again surprising everyone by keeping Fulham up and keeping them up comfortably. Fulham had one of the better finishes in a long, long time. And honestly, I would say as a Fulham fan, brilliant manager Marco Silva did really well this year for them. Next up is Thomas Frank of Brentford. Wow, Thomas Frank, you have really changed it around. Most people, when they came up last year, thought, they'll be going straight back down. But no, he really did perform really well. Thomas Frank, for the both years he's been there at Brentford in the Premier League with them, I think he'll stay there for a while, and he's a brilliant manager. And something would really, really have to go wrong for Thomas Frank to have to leave and get sacked. Next up is Roberto De Zerbi for Brighton. Wow. What a season. Coming in after Graham Potter, you thought, wow, Brighton could be in trouble here. But no, what a season for Roberto De Zerbi for Brighton. Honestly, fair play to him. He did really well to keep him up and keep him up comfortably. Like, most people thought they might be going down after Graham Potter's move. But no, 7th position. Wow, that is incredible, honestly. Wow. Honestly, incredible, right, Roberto De Zerbi. And the players that developed so much under him. Next up is Unai Emery of Aston Villa. Again, another team that was struggling at the start of the season with their manager. Unai Emery comes in and he changes it around and getting them a Europa Conference League position. Or was it Europa? Yeah, I think it was Conference League. Even if he didn't, they did so well this season, honestly. And he's such a good manager, Unai Emery. And honestly, he did everything right, and the team looked incredible at the end of the season. Honestly, I really rate Unai Emery as a manager, and I think he did really well for them. Next up is Erik ten Hag of Man United. Wow, winning the Caballero Cup, did well in the Premier League. Honestly, he did really well, to be fair. 5th position, maybe it was a bit harsh, but I really did rate Erik ten Hag last season as a manager, and I thought he did really well for Man United. Next up is Eddie Howe of Newcastle. Yes, he had the funds, but yes, he provided. Fair play to him. It's not easy under pressure there at Newcastle. Fans always expect. But Eddie Howe, again, does it again. What a manager. Securing Champions League football, and there'll be St James's Park will be a fortress in the Champions League this year, and they'll be really happy with how Eddie Howe provided. Next up is Jurgen Klopp. Actually, I think this is too high for me, to be honest, as Jurgen Klopp didn't do as well as people thought he would do at the start of the season. So I think Eddie Howe and Erik ten Hag maybe could have been above him. So I would have said maybe 5th for Jurgen Klopp. So not much to say. He did fail a bit, but again, at the end of the season, they looked strong, they looked ready, and they were really solid at the end of the season. In 2nd place, just missing out on top spot, is Mikel Arteta of Arsenal. I know, I'm sorry, Arsenal fans, he was not the best manager in the league. He was edged out by Pep, but Mikel, he did a really good job. He was very, very close, but just not close enough, to be honest. I'm sorry, Arsenal. I wanted you to do well, and you did do well, but you were just a little bit too... Sometimes you were just making some poor decisions on the pitch, and it was just sometimes that's those little games you thought you're going to win that you didn't win, and I felt bad for you there because you could have easily won the title on another year. And in first position is Pep Guardiola of Man City. Again, yes, he's the best manager been for the last few years easily, and he's won the Champions League and the Premier League and the FA Cup this year, and he's done incredibly well. Honestly, fair play to Pep Guardiola. Honestly, I didn't expect them to be this well, and Pep Guardiola honestly provided so much for Man City. He's such a great manager. He's a genius. Honestly, I think he's easily the best manager of the year this year. And that sums it up for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to drop a like, drop a subscribe. I'll be back in a bit, and see you next time.